So once your podcast was out there, was it as scary as you had imagined in your mind?
No, as a matter of fact. And I think what's funny, Jillian, is that people usually have two fears. We all think we're afraid of failure, but many of us are also afraid of success and however that might mean to them. So, for example, if you're a busy mom and you've got littles like you do, you might think, oh no, like what if this really takes off? And I suddenly have a gazillion listeners and everybody is listening and sharing my show and wants to be a guest. I literally won't have time to keep it up. You may not be like consciously rationally thinking it, but I think we don't know what's going to happen. It's largely the fear of the unknown. So I wouldn't say it's fear of failure or necessarily fear of success. It's fear of the unknown. But I'm a risk taker. That also comes with the ADHD. And I have a tendency to just jump in and tell myself two little lies. One, how hard could it be? And two, I'll figure it out as I go along. And honestly, they're not entirely wrong because once I got going, it wasn't as hard to stay in motion as it was to get out of the starting block. So I think that's a really important thing. If you can just get yourself to start and you have a plan for maybe 12 episodes that'll get you through 3 months of content, you will have gotten past the hurdle of pod fade. You will start to grow an audience, and that in and of itself will be rewarding enough to keep you going. There's so much psychology involved in this. I'm really glad I have a background as a therapist because whatever fear, whatever of like the big three, procrastination, perfectionism, and people pleasing, those are the big three that will mess you up. And there are ways to work with that stuff, but you have to start.
Yes, start and then it gets easier the more that you do it. Like,
and more fun.
Yes, like my first podcast interview was a mess. But obviously my first episode is not going to be as good as my 100th because then I'm not growing if that's the case.
So true. As a matter of fact, because I was so worried about letting other people down, I didn't want to involve guests or anyone else really. So I think it was my first 25 episodes were only about 10 to 15 minutes long. They were solo episodes. I literally had written, a zillion blog posts that I never published. And I was in my freaking closet just reading them, and they were good and they were fun and they were funny and they were good content and people really liked them because they were really short. But after 25 episodes of just me talking to myself in my closet, I was running out of material for one thing, and two, it was getting boring. And it was also during the pandemic. I wasn't seeing anyone face to face. I'm a big old extrovert, so I'm like, I have to start talking to people. So now the show I'm on episode 112. I'm in the top 5% of podcasts. So listen up, folks. You will get there if you don't give up. Well, first you have to start and then you have to keep going. But it is easier because as you go along, you start to realize, oh, my audience seems to like this type of content better than this type of content. So you can get a little bit more strategic, and you can also start bringing more creativity and fun into it, where I can't be the person who's just like, what do people want to hear? I'll just talk about that. It has to be fun and interesting to me, or I just won't be able to keep doing it. So now I have a combination of solo shows, which is about every other show. I have 1 to 2 guests per month. And I also have about every 6 episodes, a client success story, where I bring one of my coaching clients on and we talk about the work we did and what they accomplished as a result of working with me. So it absolutely is a lead generator for my business. And I also do guest interviews on other people's shows. So it's been a really great strategy for me. And I have no intention of quitting ever, probably.